There are so many questions to ask General Milley, General McKenzie, and Secretary of Defense Austin today, but this perhaps is the most disturbing. You remember the courage it took for Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Schleller to get up and put on camera or on his iPhone that he's resigning. He couldn't be more embarrassed.
He was so close to retirement, too.
He was so close to it. He couldn't be more embarrassed by the lack of integrity that we showed with the withdrawal of Afghanistan. He says, that's it, I'm done. As a Marine, I can't do this anymore. I'm walking away from my retirement. Now we find out that he's been put in the brig until he could have his hearing. Excuse me?
Incarcerated. The hearing's supposed to be on Thursday. Just in case you don't remember that video that he posted on Facebook and LinkedIn, here's a flashback.
And I'm not saying we've got to be in Afghanistan forever, but I am saying, did any of you throw your rank on the table and say, hey, it's a bad idea to evacuate Bagram Airfield, the strategic air base, before we evacuate everyone? I have been fighting for 17 years. I am willing to throw it all away to say to my senior leaders, I demand accountability.
Right. And we talked about it. It's like, look at what this guy said. His supervisors said, you've got to stop doing that. He kept doing it, and then he ignored them, and then, as you know, resigned. And he posted about this gag order they put him under, and that's what got him in trouble. Define the gag order. He's in the brig, currently in pretrial confinement. What he's asking, though, for, as we heard there at the very end, and that is the same accountability that he is expected of him and his men from the people at top.
His father said, all our son did is ask the questions that everybody was asking themselves, but they were too scared to speak out loud. He was asking for accountability. In fact, I think he even asked for an apology that we made mistakes, but they couldn't do that, which is mind-blowing. They had a gag order on him and asked him not to speak. He did, and they incarcerated him. They don't know what to do with him.
Now, this is a group and a brain trust that just droned and killed 10 innocent people, including 7 children. This is a brain trust that allowed our perimeter to be guarded by our arch enemy, the Taliban, which resulted in one attack that killed 13 and wounded 20. This is the brain trust that left $85 billion worth of hardware in a country that's hostile. Last weekend, Iranians were buying Black Hawks in Kabul of ours. And you believe this lieutenant colonel deserved to be jailed in lieu of a pretrial hearing? He is the least of your problems. They should be putting themselves in front of court and embarrassing themselves as they embarrass their uniform.
And Brian, now look what the Taliban's doing. They have said we are going back to killings and to amputations. They cut off a guy's nose and his ears. He was a farmer. Then the reporters, you remember those images of the reporters that were whipped, and they showed the back of them, their legs and their backs, black and blue, because they were reporting on women's rights. They are killing moms and dads and children. Laura Logan was on yesterday talking about those reports that children are even dying there. And this is because the U.S. government pulled out and allowed the Taliban to take over.
So it's okay to talk to Bob Woodward, General Milley, and expose all the behind-the-scenes doings during the Trump administration and perhaps the Biden years, where you made it clear to Bob Woodward, but not to us, that you were against pulling out. You were against giving up Bagram Air Base. You recommended 4,000. You told Bob Woodward that. But we got to see you in action, leave everybody behind and pull our military out first. So it's okay for you to talk to Bob Woodward, but it's not okay for a lieutenant colonel to put up his iPhone and address the American people and talk about how we did not live up to what he thought was the Marine Code.
So you're going to see them today in front of the Senate Armed Services Committee, tomorrow in front of the House Armed Services Committee. In D.C., what they're looking for is if the general takes the bait from Republicans and gets defensive and gets angry, that's not going to be good for the general. And of course, you're going to see highlights at the end.